Good morning to everybody and welcome. Happy Ocho de Mayo and welcome to MBH and District Titles Education Day. I am Beverly Franklin, Director of Marketing and Communications with MBH Settlement Group, and I'm so excited for you to be here today. This is actually our 6th annual Education Day, and I'm really happy to share that we've had over 1,000 realtors and industry professionals join us since we started making a tradition of making education fun. So welcome today. I did want to let you know that MBH is celebrating 30 years in business this year. And I wanted to thank you all for being a part of our journey and for trusting us with your clients at the settlement table. So as you know, together, MBH and District Title are positioned for your success, and we're absolutely committed to helping you grow your business. Oh, thank you. I see the congratulations in the chat. So thank you so much. So over the last several years, we have seen significant highs and lows, and today we're bringing you these top producers you see on the screen who are going to share key trends that they're seeing emerging in the current market. They're going to let us know how their approach has changed over the years, and they're going to share even their biggest game changers. So that's enough spoilers. I'm just going to tell you a little bit of a breakdown of today's agenda before we turn it over to the panelists. So right now we're starting with our top agent panel. At the end of this session, we will be giving away our grand prize, which is, as always, a margarita machine. And then we're going to have a short break before we move on to 3 hours of mix and match education, where you can get 3 hours of CE with both Virginia and Maryland credits available. We're ending the day at 4:30 with 5 different happy hours across Virginia and DC. So come celebrate with us, and you can see the locations of the happy hours. I'll put them into the chat, and we would love to see you there. So now I'm honored to welcome and introduce Ryan Stewart, our moderator, our managing attorney of our Alexandria Old Town office. Take it away, Ryan.
Thank you, Bev. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, as Bev said, for joining us, our 6th annual Cinco, or in this case, our Ocho de Mayo Continuing Education Day. As Bev mentioned, my name is Ryan Stewart. I'm with MBH. I've hung my hat in the Old Town Alexandria office for just shy of 25 years. So I guess that makes me a bit of a lifer. And certainly in reviewing the list of attendees today, so many of you, so many familiar names, so many familiar faces. You all have supported MBH and District Title throughout your careers. And we're delighted to be able to give you this day of education. We think it's a really, really solid premise, and we hope to continue to do things in the years to come. Obviously, still a Zoom format, though I believe interest in everybody sitting behind their computers in their kitchens is somewhat waning. So perhaps next year we will get back to our in-person version that we created so many years ago prior to the pandemic. MBH and District Title, we've got 21 offices throughout Virginia, DC, Maryland. And certainly I speak for so many of our dedicated staff members, our settlement attorneys, processors, our marketing staff, post-closers, admin, you name it, who you rely upon daily with your clients and your transactions, that we're grateful to have you as part of our lives and be part of your circle of excellence. I know I'm like a broken record with my agents in Old Town. I've said it so many times that I've got the best job in the world. I get to do what I love, and I get to sit day in, day out at the settlement table with people who I love as well, people that I've grown to be friends with over the years. But with that in mind, let me jump in. I want to introduce our amazing panelists here today. We are so fortunate to have such an incredible group. I'd say, in no particular order, as I truly think the world of all 5 of our panelists, though I guess in reviewing this, it is alphabetical order. So we'll stay out of trouble there. But I want to first introduce Michelle Doherty. Michelle is amazing. I've gotten to know her over many years. Michelle, having discussed, in the past, real estate has been a lifelong love affair for you. I think you started at an early age as your Nana's apprentice. She had an interior design business, and as a youngster, Michelle would assist her in decorating model homes all over Northern Virginia. Michelle graduated from Christopher Newport University in 2011, got her real estate license in 2015. She is a realtor with RLAH Real Estate and has assisted literally hundreds of clients over the years in Northern Virginia and the DC metro area. no shortage of accolades and service for Michelle. In 2019, she was very deservedly recognized as a Realtor Magazine 30 Under 30 honoree. 2022, she was honored to be elected to the Virginia Realtors Board of Directors. She's graduated from the NAR Leadership Academy. She's currently serving as a NAR 2024 YPN, or Young Professionals Network Chair. So her level of insight, her perspective is invaluable to me, and certainly for her to share with you all today. On a personal level, Michelle's got a beautiful family, her amazing daughter, Izzy, her husband, Alex, who's also in the business on the lending side, and beautiful fur daughters, Riley and Honey. So Michelle, thank you so much for joining us here today. As I said, we're fortunate to have you.
Well, thank you. And my Izzy's very fond of you very much, as you know. So
well,
happy
a
to be
stuffy
here.
will go a long way to move the affinities of our youth. So I definitely know where their bread is buttered. But moving on to Kardin and Lillis, Kardin made a lateral move to real estate in 2018. She initially ventured to DC to pursue politics and media at George Washington University. Her career path took her into politics, to radio, to TV, and she even worked with our home team, the beloved Washington Nationals baseball team. I know from personal experience that since becoming a realtor, Kardin has quickly established herself as a leading force in our industry. Year after year, she's placed among the top 200 Weichert agents company-wide, and in 23, she was a top 50 realtor in the DMV region. Outside of the all-consuming world of real estate, she's passionate about travel, scuba, even finds time to volunteer with the Puppy Rescue Mission and Operation Once in a Lifetime. So Kardin, like Michelle and like all of our other panelists, I just don't know how you all find the time to do this, but you're amazing, and we're thankful to have you on the panel today.
Thank you so much. And just a quick correction, top 50 for Weichert in the DMV.
Very good. I was actually looking into my crystal ball. That's for 2020 for Kardin, top 50 all over. So you heard it here first.
Thank you.
Michael Lorino, again, you're not here to listen to me, but so much to say here. Michael's one of my dearest friends. We've known one another for well over the past 15 years. Michael is the founder and he's the CEO of Assume List, which we'll reference here today. He got his license in 2009 and while on active duty with the Marine Corps. So don't mess with this guy. He cut his teeth early on helping military families who were relocating. And in 2013, Michael launched the incredibly successful Fidelis Property Group. They are a leading residential real estate team. Since its inception, ranked among the top 1.5% of all teams nationally by Real Trends. In 2021, after serving more than 20 years for our country, Michael retired from the Marine Corps to focus exclusively on real estate. This guy is a go-getter. He's incredibly insightful. And with rising interest rates, Michael was keen to anticipate the impending affordability crisis, recognized the difficulty that so many of our home buyers were having in locating government-backed assumable loans, notably our VA and our FHA loans. Recognizing that no search tool existed, Michael founded Assume List. Amazing tool, amazing company. Now operates in 13 states, certainly Virginia, as well as Washington, D.C. It provides easy access to most of our nation's homes with assumable loans. So definitely something to look into. Michael lives in Alexandria. His amazing wife, who's also a dear friend of mine, and his 2 great children. Thanks, Michael. We appreciate you being here, buddy. Ashley Tauzier. Ashley, thank you so much for joining today. We had an opportunity to chat last week. She was born and raised in the Big Easy, New Orleans, Louisiana. Ashley married her high school sweetheart, who was on active duty military at the time. We all certainly have an understanding of what that life can be like. And so over the years, her husband's military career brought them to many, many states. And certainly, fortunately for us, their final duty station was here in Virginia. Ashley's been a licensed realtor for 10 years, got her license shortly after moving to Virginia, and certainly no stopping her since. So having spoken personally with Ashley, her ultimate goal for all of her clients is to make buying, selling, renting as seamless and stress-free as possible. And her success is certainly indicative of that. So Ashley, you're awesome. Thank you again for being a part of our discussion here today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You got it. And we'll finish up last but not least, a good friend of mine, Ressie Wilson. Ressie is a native Washingtonian. You're the one, Ressie, huh? Ressie left DC early on to live and to work abroad. She's been everywhere, but as DC does to us, it pulled her back, and she returned in 1998. Her love of real estate stems from many cities across the US, as well as countries that she's lived in, that she's traveled to, and just a love of diverse backgrounds and cultures. I've worked with Ressie so many times, and I can attest that she truly always prioritizes her clients' best interests as her primary goal. Again, her list of accolades, accomplishments is lengthy, but she's an associate broker. She's a graduate of the Real Estate Institute. He's a senior real estate specialist, certified probate real estate specialist, and a member of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. Ressie, as you can tell from the banner behind her, she joined RE/MAX Allegiance in 2001. So a true lifer there, and she was very deservedly inducted into their Hall of Fame in 2010.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, you got it, Ressie. Well, you all are truly amazing. So let's go ahead and kind of jump into our mix, because again, all of our attendees, though they've listened to me and to Bev, again, the goal is to go ahead and get right into what you all have to say. You're an amazing group of panelists. And you're certainly, as the bios attest, top producing agents. You've had plenty of opportunity to work with current and prospective buyers and sellers. And so I guess in jumping off, what are you seeing as it relates out there to buyer and seller sentiments in our current market? Ashley, you want to jump in for us?
I'm like, who's talking first?
We'll put you on the spot.
Okay. I am seeing, so I work a lot with veterans as well, just because of my history. And I'm seeing a lot of VA buyers renting when they're being transferred here, as opposed to buying like they have in the past. I'm seeing a lot of sellers thinking that they have a lower interest rate and they may want to hold on to their house instead of selling it like they normally would. So yeah, I feel like it's different right now, but it's still like the market's still crazy and there's still people out there, but that's just like my VA experience for people.
Yeah, it seems like an incredible amount of optimism. I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in, but sort of this perception as to what rates will do, this lack of inventory. Anyone else sort of commenting on what you're feeling with your buyers and your sellers out there? I know I see it from the settlement table perspective. Michael?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I mean, I work with a ton of buyers. The way we structure our team is my wife, Bethany, typically handles the listings, and then I handle predominantly buyer side transactions. It's how we keep our marriage together. So I spend a lot of time with buyers. And we, what we're finding is that really interest rates haven't been all that much of a detraction with many buyers. I mean, certainly some. There's a good cadre of buyers out there that really don't want to take out a mortgage at 7.25%. But for the most part, particularly in this market, Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland, where there's a high concentration of military folks or folks that are moving because of jobs, they're really less impacted by interest rates. And in many cases, what we're finding is there's really no shortage of competition. I mean, the spring market is always busy. So when we're putting in offers, we still have to be competitive. I mean, we still have to have conversations about waiving inspections and waiving appraisals and waiving your traditional contingencies, despite the fact that interest rates are 7%. And I think, hard to say, well, what is this caused by? I mean, one, we know that there's just limited inventory, right? So it's not that there's just a resurgence of demand. It's really that there's just limited inventory of available homes to purchase. And so everybody is just competing against a few homes out there. Mm-hmm. And so what we're seeing is really just buyers really being forced into the position. And this is perhaps unique to our local market. I know that I talk with a lot of agents around the country. Some markets they're seeing this, but in most places they're not seeing how competitive it is. So I just think that, because we just have a really strong, economy right now. I mean, the dollar is strong. Unemployment is extremely low. We're in the spring market. We're in the military PCS move, and so families want to get their kids settled before the end of before the fall, spring, or the fall school season starts. And with limited inventory, all these factors just compound. And really what we're finding is a highly competitive market that we have traditionally seen over the last 2 or 3 years. And so I'm not seeing as much of a break due to interest rate hikes as I would have expected.
Can I piggyback on that real quickly? Because we just came out of our NAR mid-year meetings, and these infographics and charts will be available on NAR research website, on their website here shortly. But yesterday, Dr. Lorino, our chief economist for NAR, spoke, and nationally, we are missing about 5.5 million of inventory that's necessary for the demand we have currently. On top of that, reflecting back on 2023, the lack of sales transactions or movement in the market was the lowest it's been since 1995. So in his professional opinion, for the next 10 years out of those 8, he believes that we will see a progression of an uptick in transaction amounts, just because we've never historically had it this low. We've also historically never had less inventory in the market. So hoping that, this year, I think all of us can agree, has been very active from the beginning of January, even now, and all that jazz. I think we're going to see that through the summer. Whereas last year, our spring market was a little lackluster. It was still busy, but just not what we were accustomed to. So I think I definitely agree that the interest rates are not holding people back. I think people are definitely being, with interest rates where they are, they're definitely being more thoughtful about the money that they're spending, but they're open to still doing those pre-offer inspections or waiving financing and appraisal if they're able to.
Yeah, it's definitely a perverse dynamic. I mean, we hear about it every day at the settlement table, which is, typically we would anticipate that rates need to drop to get buyers more motivated. But it's almost, we need interest rates to drop to get all the sellers sitting on their 2% and 3% interest rates more motivated to move up or to move laterally or whatever it is that they're going to move. But yeah, definitely a unique market, and Lawrence is a great resource. With that in mind, our DMV market, as well as the national market, is constantly evolving. Again, having done this 25 years, we've seen peaks and valleys before, and we know we'll see them again in the future. But are there any key trends that you all are seeing emerging, in our current market landscape?
There are. Personally, again, I'm down in Fredericksburg. I live in Spotsylvania after I made the move from, Crystal City to Alexandria, and I moved down. So I'm looking at it in a little bit different of a perspective. I'm not sure where the other agents are, but I'm looking at having lived up in Northern Virginia and kind of moving down to what's quickly becoming Northern Virginia South, Stafford, Spotsylvania, Fredericksburg. And what I'm seeing is, again, before, we're a very transient area. We've got Quantico, we've got a lot of different military bases in the area. So we're used to people PCSing in and out. We're used to relocations, here for a couple of years and moving. But we're starting to see a lot more, at least I am, of people coming from, Alexandria, Fairfax County, Loudoun County, and relocating down into more affordable areas. Stafford County, Spotsylvania, coming into King George, even into Caroline. It's still along that 95 corridor, and they're finding more favorable taxes, and they're finding that their, money goes a lot further down in those areas than in Northern Virginia. I'm also seeing, with the trend for work from home, that they're able to come down a little bit further south, just like a lot of the businesses are. Loudoun County is kind of, and Prince William, you guys are kind of at, maximum capacity. So Amazon and a lot of the companies are coming down into Caroline, King George, Spotsylvania counties, and, applying for data centers down here. So that's one thing I'm seeing, which then, the workforce is going to come. And also, again, people are just not just first-time home buyers looking for affordability, but even people that are looking to downsize will get a lot more bang for the buck down a little bit further south, or even more east and west. I'm also seeing a lot of multi-generational living that's going on. A lot of parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters. I have one client who said, I'm selling my house, I'm moving in with my sister. And I said, well, how long? I don't know. she won't kick me out. I said, okay. So she sees that the market right now is still a seller's market. So she's trying to take advantage of that. And again, people are combining. I'm seeing a lot more of parents and children, on the same loan together, whereas before it might have been one or the other. So I'm seeing a lot more of that. And again, I'm seeing more renting going on. Like you mentioned, Michael, and also Michelle, that people were, PCSing their renting for the time being versus purchasing a home. Also, a lot of people that are here and moving away temporarily are looking into renting versus just selling the house and hanging on to it for the time being, because they plan to come back to the area. So that's a little bit of what I'm seeing kind of from a more Southern perspective.
Yeah, well, I'm sure all of our attendees are delighted to hear that the number of rentals are up, same amount of work for a little bit lower payoff. And yeah, we saw this sort of urban flight, in the housing boom in the early 2000s, where, everything became somewhat cost prohibitive and the inventory increased as you got further and further away from the DMV, and those markets, were lifted up as well. Ressie, let me move to you. We haven't deferred to you yet. You and I had a great conversation last week, and I wanted you to be able to share with the crew. What are you doing to educate your clients about these market conditions? I mean, in sort of setting realistic expectations, which is so key, in detailing your clients' upcoming purchase or sales.
So I'm spending more time in the beginning of the relationship. So when I first meet somebody, we're not just going to rush out really quickly and start looking at properties. A lot of us have really never done that in the past. But I think more importantly now, to sit down and really spend a lot of time educating my clients about the market, in particular neighborhoods that they're interested in buying in, because I'm seeing buyers coming back into the market. They've had that time to really adjust to the new realities of the current interest rates. And so they're ready to get started. Now I need to let them know it's still a very competitive market. My favorite go-to is smart charts. I mean, I live by that. The details, and you can really narrow down into specific neighborhoods. You get an overall big picture of a particular area. I just sold a 2-family property in 20002 zip code, and there was like a 4.6 months worth of inventory in the entire zip code, but that included everything. But then going down really granularly and looking at what's the list price to the sold price, what's the average days on the market, and then talking to the other agents to finding out how many offers did they receive on their properties. So my clients need to know, when you're going into a specific area, they need to know, like it was in Rockville, and this particular house had never been on the market, single family home. The average days on market was very, very low in this particular part of Rockville. So I wanted my clients to know you have to go in and you have to be competitive. So I'm using RPR and I'm using smart charts. I really love those resources because I give my clients a lot of data that they're not getting. Maybe I love homes.com and, remax.com, obviously. But I want them to have as much information as they really need to have, so they feel comfortable and confident, and they're going to have a conversation with somebody who hasn't bought a house since 1999. Oh, well, you don't need to do this or you don't need to do that. So I'm arming them and giving them the data and the information that they need in order to feel more comfortable with being very competitive for a particular property. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for all of our panelists, are you noticing, the expectations that your clients have when you initially meet with them, that you're almost having to reset? I mean, I have to expect that a seller almost thinks that their house, no matter where it's priced, will sell in an instant. And a buyer thinks because they're willing to wade into what they perceive as a high interest rate environment, that they'll have an easier time of it. Is that, obviously I'm not down in the trenches like you are, but is that what any of you are seeing as well?
I think managing expectations with sellers sometimes it's key when I first meet with them, because again, it is very much a seller's market, but the effort behind that still needs to be made. We're not in COVID 2.5, 2.85 interest rates, or even below 3. you can't throw spaghetti at the wall and hope it sticks. An effort needs to be made on the front half. So I have been accused of being a little too OCD when it comes to presenting my listings when they are introduced to the market, but it's because I'm a firm believer that you only have that one opportunity to make that first impression correctly that one time. And if you don't, and you have to course correct, you're kind of in muddy water there. It's hard to kind of gain that kind of traction that you first have that opportunity when you hit the market or you're introduced in coming soon status. So I'm pretty particular about how my sellers perceive the presentation, because I'm going to work as hard as I can to make sure the pictures, videography, marketing, printed and otherwise looks perfect. But we need to be making the adjustments, recocking a tub or, those little things, getting a deep cleaner in there, all of those things that we all know are required when you want to get top dollar for your home. And for the buyers, I think some of them with understanding what the dynamics are of the market, right? Like I have one buyer that's very adverse to getting into any sort of bidding war. So managing their expectation, like, hey, this one is priced pretty competitively. They probably did that strategically. Just know that moving forward, but let's see it. Let's put our eyes on it and let's see how we feel after we see it. But it's just managing that expectation. So when it does either move very quickly, they aren't like, kind of upset about it, if you will, because some of my clients, they've been looking, if you will, off and on since 2022, and they've seen the dynamics. And two of these buyers, and I think it just might be their personality, are very risk conscious. And so it's just managing that kind of expectation as we are walking into these houses that maybe, might see multiple offers.
Yeah, for sure. I get calls on a fairly regular basis from people who are wanting to sell by owner. And the one piece of advice that I give to them is to go hire a realtor. I don't think they realize the impact that days on market, compromised property condition, just proper marketing, staging, and so forth has. So, I think that's very insightful. Michelle, at the risk of sort of putting you on the spot and staying with you, you really bring to us, a lot of national perspective with your involvement with NAR, with YPN, certainly Virginia Realtors Board and everything else, that true insider's perspective. And it's no secret to anybody on this call that the media has really been driving the conversation over the last couple of months in the wake of the Sitzer-Burnett judgment and settlement and so forth. Have you noticed or proactively implemented or any of the above a shift in the dialogue between your buyers or your sellers, in the wake of this?
Oh man, well, right after March 15th, when the proposed settlement was announced, that was not our doing at NAR, but it was the plaintiffs' doing. They strategically worked with PR firms, I'm sure, and other media outlet forums to push out this narrative. And everyone on this call and who's been in this business for more than a week knows that there's no set standard of commission. There never has been. Commission has always been negotiable. I mean, I'd love to share for the last 10 years all of the listing agreements where I did not get paid 6%, just so we can clear that up. But at the National Association of Realtors, I find it's hard for me to hear some of the negativity, which I totally understand, because honestly, I hear people's concerns. I have a unique perspective with my involvement, but I also sell a lot of homes to our NAR staff here in DC. We have a huge office here in DC that advocates not only for our industry, but for private property owners. We're the only industry, we're the only trade association that does that on behalf of private property owners and realtors alike. So I think that's overlooked quite a bit. The messaging between buyers and sellers for sure has been different. The conversations, honestly, this lead up to the change in August now, I think has given me an opportunity to rehone my buyer presentation and listing presentation. Honestly, I've been getting buyer agent agreements signed like pretty consistently before, but this is really just made me sharpen my tool set, and it's kind of become second nature. And having that conversation with them at the forefront, I feel like really sets the tone for a positive relationship between us, especially going into depth of what could happen in August. But on the seller side, I've had my sweet sellers. I have a couple of listings coming up later this month in June. Some of my older clients who are retirees, and they're seeing stuff on the Today Show, and they're calling me up being like, are you still going to have a job? So there's so much misinformation. And I think for us, it's hard to know and digest everything from everywhere. So I really implore people to go just to competition.realtor if you're a realtor, if you're a consumer and you want the pure FAQs of exactly what this all is. For us here in Virginia, we've had buyer agency for 32 years. This is really not going to change much besides commission not being publicly transparent on the MLS. We were the first in the nation to have buyer agency. We know how this is supposed to be done. For other states like Missouri, Illinois, New Mexico, Massachusetts, they didn't have buyer agency. This is a new arena for them. They're really kind of concerned about getting people to sign a document before doing any real work with them. But for us, we know how this goes. So I'm not concerned about Virginia. Honestly, I'm not concerned about this at all. My concerns are the media outlets reporting bad information. I was very fortunate to sit through a testing on consumers. NAR has partnered with the Homeowners Alliance, which is an alliance of over 10 million homeowners throughout the country. And they did dial testing here in DC and Northern Virginia on those homeowners, and also sat down for case studies and interviewed them as well about sentiments about what they're hearing. Unfortunately, all of this was done 5 days. They finalized all of this research 5 days before the settlement was announced. So they're going back into reconnecting with those homeowners within the alliance and doing test studies and all that kind of stuff. But it was very interesting as far as the messaging was concerned, as what home buyers and homeowners considered us valuable for. Basically, what the study found was they found us so valuable because we took care of not the amount of items, like we've all seen that list of 179 items that we take care of for a home buyer in order to purchase a home. It wasn't the amount, it was the annoying tasks that they didn't want to take care of, or they felt are too complicated to take care of. So connecting them with a good title agent like Ryan, or helping them navigate through a really tough home inspection and advising them, like, hey, maybe this could cost a little too much money. Maybe we should look at pulling out of this contract based on our home inspection contingency. Explaining them all of the contract law that we all know. We all know that contract backwards and forwards. So explaining all of that and making the process seamless for them and taking away the mystery of how the process goes. That was our biggest value to them, not the number of items that we do for them. Again, that is definitely important, but where they ranked those important items were taking away the mystery of the home buying process, taking care of the items that are just seemingly too hard or that home buyers don't want to take care of. So it was very interesting. And they also gave us kind of tidbits on what not to say and what to say. It was very interesting. They will be making all of this data available to all NAR members later this year after this next round of research. So I'm hoping to have just a huge post so I can share all this stuff with you guys. But it was very interesting, and we're working really hard to make sure that we put out the right message to consumers and realtors alike, because they are hearing the sentiments, whether they're based on facts or not. And so they're trying hard. I wish it would be faster, but again, all this stuff takes time.
Well, thank you for sharing. Yeah, your perspective is invaluable. And as I said, I've picked your brain many a times over the last 6 months or so. You're truly in the trenches and behind the scenes. So I appreciate you sharing with us what you can.
Can I say one more thing? If anybody wants to be an if anybody wants to be an NAR surrogate, basically it's an NAR media surrogate. So basically they give you all the tools. Should you be approached by somebody in media, you of course would first let your local or state and national media person know. They give you those names, but they give you all the information. So if somebody comes to you from media or somewhere, you've gone through all the trainings, you've been giving all that information. We're looking for more NAR media surrogates. So if you are interested, please reach out to me. I would love for you to be a part of this program at NAR. I have found it invaluable, so please reach out.
Perfect. Yeah, and from my perspective, I think your point, what bears emphasis, for any of you kind of looking at the national headlines that the sky is falling, again, Virginia has had buyer agency for 30 years. We've required buyer agency agreements by statute, for the last handful of years. So much of what we're seeing on a national level is not as applicable to Virginia as it may be to other states. So we're already in a very good position legislatively. Let's go ahead and change gears. We referenced Assume List earlier. Michael, you are certainly at the forefront. I've done probably, 25 or 30 VA assumptions over the course of the last year, and probably, at least half of them have been with you. The successful ones, I should say. I've had probably 100 unsuccessful ones, but none of those with you. You seem to have an edge on this, and with Assume List and everything else. We see VA buyers every day. One of the documents they sign is a VA rider that talks about the assumability and the savvy VA borrowers that are interest rate. Tell me a little bit about Assume List. Tell me how you're leveraging technology and data so that others can sort of see this valuable resource that's out there.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks for teeing it up, Ryan. So Assume List really came about, I've been doing this for 15 years and a military guy myself. So a good chunk of my business is serving military families. And obviously one of the things that I realized, kind of early, mid 2022, when interest rates started spiking as a result of high inflation, is there's a lot of buyers that just began sitting out of the market. Basically, just, they were sidelined due to the fact that interest rates spiked so quickly. In fact, we still have to this day, there's a good number of buyers who really, call me all the time and say, "Hey, Mike, I really want to buy a home, but I really don't want to take out a loan at 7.25%." And certainly this impacts what we now know. We now know, even based on what Michelle said earlier, there's a huge amount of sellers who are not willing to sell their home, even if they do need to move. They don't want to sell their home with their cushy 2.5% interest rate to then have to go out and buy another home, at current market rates at 7% or thereabout. So late 2022, I started doing some research. I was working with some buyers. It's like, hey, well, let's not take out a loan at whatever it was at the time, 6.5 or 6.75. Let's see if we can find your home with an assumable mortgage, because I knew that every single VA loan and every single FHA loan has a clause in them which allows them to be assumable. And I started looking for tools or way to find these properties that are listed for sale. And I even called up Bright MLS, product support. And I said, hey, I'm interested in a tool or a mechanism that allows me to filter for homes that are actively listed to have assumable mortgages. Is there a way to do that within Bright? And they said, no, I'm sorry, it's not an option. So then I looked at any commercial tools and there wasn't any way to actually solve this problem. So I said, well, crap, I got to find a way to find homes with assumable mortgages. So I decided to build my own platform. And that was kind of the brains behind developing Assume List, assumelist.com. We've been now in place, or we've been launched effectively since late last year. It took me about 12 months to develop the software. It's pretty high speed. It tells not only, well, first off, every single home that's listed for sale on Assume List has an interest rate of below 5%. So just because, I think Realtor.com offers a feature right now where you can check a box and you can see homes that have assumable mortgages. Well, Realtor.com doesn't differentiate the home that was bought a year or a half ago or 2 years ago that has a 6.5% mortgage on it, where they'll tell you it's assumable, but nobody's going to assume a loan with 6.5%. So we decided early on that we're going to make searchable only homes that have a viable assumable mortgage. So every home is less than 5%, and the vast majority have less than 3%. And what's really cool is it tells you not only what we're directly connected to the MLS in every market that we service. And so whenever a home that has an assumable mortgage gets listed for sale, it doesn't require the listing agent to make any comments. Only 10% of homes that have an assumable mortgage, the listing agent includes a comment that says this home is assumable, or this home has a 2.x% interest rate. So that means like tools like Zillow, where you do keyword searches for finding homes with assumed mortgages, you're missing 90% of those homes because only 10% of those listing agents actually include those statements. And a home that's advertised, I've actually done some kind of independent analysis on it. The homes that are listed with assumed mortgages and have those comments or advertised as such will sell faster, will sell for more money, get more interest, more offers. It's like a no-brainer. Why would you not want to do that? So it's another little perk you can do for your listings. And the other thing that just boggles my mind is there's half of all listing agents who list a home with assumed mortgage don't even know that the property they're listing has one. So I've called up many listing agents because I'm getting ready to put an offer in, and they'll tell me, I'll say, hey, your home has a VA assumed mortgage. You know, are they willing to proceed with an offer with us to assume it? And they said, oh, this home doesn't have an assumable mortgage. And I'm like, well, did they refinance out of their VA loan because they just bought it with a VA mortgage 3 years ago? She's like, oh, it has a VA loan. Yeah, I didn't know it was assumable. So I have to spend a lot of time educating agents. But what AssumeList really does is AssumeList gives agents the power to help find those properties for their clients and bring those sideline buyers back to the market. Or alternatively, help sellers transition by finding them a home they can move to that has a low interest rate mortgage. And now you get a listing out of it. The tool provides, you can search an entire geographic area. You can draw a map and it'll find homes based on location, zip code, city, school district, whatever criteria you need to look for. It provides interest rate, the loan balance, the mortgage payment that the current owner has that they're making. And what's really cool is you can even filter properties based on the down payment requirement, because obviously there's not every buyer has the amount of cash needed for every home, but you can set filters based on that cash gap and only look at properties that meet your specific buyer's cash availability. And then what's really cool that I created that is unique to agents, to bring agents value. We talked about what's going to change in this market shift. Well, one of those things that's going to change is how are agents going to bring value to themselves or bring value to their clients, and why would clients want to work with them? Well, if you can offer something, some capability that other agents aren't offering, they are inclined to work with you if you can bring value. So one of the things that I offer exclusively to agents is the ability to search for every off-market home with an assumable mortgage. So if you have a buyer that wants to buy in a specific neighborhood and there's nothing for sale because the inventory is limited, you can look at every single home in that neighborhood with a sub 5% assumable mortgage, and you can filter them out and look at them, and you can say, hey, there may be an opportunity here. I built in a skip tracing tool, so now you can click a button, it'll provide you with that homeowner's cell phone number and email address, so you don't even have to door knock. And you can call them up and say, hey, I've got a ready and willing buyer who needs to move into this neighborhood. For the right price, would you be willing to sell? And you're equipped with the tools to find those homes and contact those homeowners to have those conversations. And it's all built into AssumeList. So pretty powerful tools. It's, again, a way to differentiate yourself from other agents to solve the problems that your clients are having, which is right now, the biggest problem we have is limited inventory. And why is inventory limited? Because sellers don't want to sell. So now you can basically use this as a mechanism to incentivize sellers to sell, or you can bring in sideline buyers who are just, priced out of the market because the interest rates have gotten out of control. So there's a little snapshot there.
Well,
Michael, I
ahead.
I had a quick question about it because I love this product. I think it's a fantastic solution, especially with what we're facing in the marketplace. Michael, a couple questions for you. What's the average time you're seeing on your assumable mortgages right now? Because there is a new rule that went into place that if the servicers are lagging or dragging their feet beyond 60 days, I believe there is a hand slap for them from the VA. So I'm just interested to see
and a
your
hand
average
slap
days.
from Michael.
Yeah, I know. It's actually more than a hand slap. So December 2023, the VA came out with a new circular, which is a directive. This is not guidance. This is a mandatory requirement of compliance. It's called a non-compliance assumption directive. Basically, what it says is that servicers now must approve loan assumptions, VA loan assumptions, within 45 days. They have no choice. So we have seen, and you'll hear a lot of horror stories, and I've spoken with many agents over the last couple months who have said, oh, I'll never do another loan assumption again. I tried it a year ago and it took me 5 months and it's a horrible experience. I'm like, okay, that was a year ago. Now they're all being done in 45 days. In fact, I'm talking with some agents. There are some servicers that are approving loan assumptions in 30 days. So effectively, you can put in a regular new loan purchase offer with a new loan, or put in that same offer with an assumption, and there's not much time difference in how quickly they're being processed. On average, though, their timeframes are coming down. I'm actually getting ready to release a blog article that's going to talk through this in great detail. But on average, VA loan assumptions right now are happening in about 45 to as much as 60 days, because remember, that 45-day timeline doesn't begin until that servicer receives that loan application from the buyer. So it's not 45 days from date of ratification, contract ratification. It's 45 days from when the servicer makes connection with that buyer and starts that loan process, the application process. But they have no choice, and that's the big update, is that if I'll get a lot of agents that'll contact me and say, hey, we're at day 50 and we still haven't received our approval. Very simple to solve. All you got to do, well, first off, that hopefully they were in touch with their servicer all along and said, hey, what's going on here? Why is this taking so long? But generally speaking, if it takes longer than 45 days, the simplest thing to do is contact your local regional VA office. In our case, it's from Roanoke, and say, hey, I'm working with a buyer, I'm working with a seller, and our servicer is taking in excess of 45 days. Can you please assist? Immediately, the VA that day or the next day, they will call that servicer and talk with their manager. They will give them a 7-day notice, and they say they have 7 days to approve that loan. And if they cannot approve that loan, then the ramifications start occurring. First and foremost, they can, and I've heard they will zero out that loan guarantee. So the government will zero out the government loan guarantee on the VA loan. 2, they can impose fines and penalties. They can conduct audits. And then ultimately what they can do is they can refer it to the Department of Veteran Affairs and have that servicer remove their ability to service VA loans. So there's financial consequences if they don't process them within this directed time frame.
Man, you sound like you should work for NAR, because I tell you, our NAR policy team, and I just want to give a shout out, because if you want to ever question where your NAR dollars, our NAR policy team made that happen with the VA. I just want you to know, because they were hearing our gripes and complaints from agents like Michael and other agents in San Diego who do these huge assumable, like have a good chunk of their business be these VA assumable loans. They were hearing their complaints throughout the country, and I was privy to conversations and policy that they were pushing at the NAR level with the assistance of the VA to come up with stipulations and warnings and then fines. So I'm so glad you went into that, because that's what we do. Realtors do that. We had a helping hand in that to make sure and protect VAs and make assumable loans much easier to do. And I'm so happy to hear that the times are actually coming down. So that's wonderful.
And I can connect with you afterward, Michelle. And if there's anything further I can do to support NAR, I'm happy to do so.
So we're having
Michael.
meetings with the VA, and I would love for you to be a part of them.
Well, and I wanted to highlight that. I mean, number one, because I think it's such an incredible product that every realtor can use to create value for their clients, but also because I think it highlights the ability to differentiate oneself, in an industry that is very competitive. We've got 36,000 realtors in Virginia, 1.5 million nationwide. There are pockets, that you are still able to create an expertise for yourself and differentiate yourself with your clients. I guess with that in mind, maybe Ashley and Kardin, I'll kind of defer to you. Realtors' approach kind of evolves over the course of a successful career, whether it's farming or treatment of current clients, building a professional referral network. How have your methods changed over time, and has this evolution differentiated you among your peers?
Oh, okay. I'll talk for a second. I typically, most of my business is by referral. So, I really, really focus on my sphere of influence, and try to stay in touch with them. One thing I've really noticed since COVID, and really starting into last year when the market kind of started slowing down, I feel like a lot of realtors kind of pulled back, but I feel like that's the time that you kind of need to push forward and really stay in touch with your people. And I do like a lot of like client appreciation events, and I do like client gifts, and I've done them for years, and people show up, people are grateful. But I notice really towards the end of last year and into this year, people are very grateful for those things. Like I've gotten, little gifts that I send out to people. They'll selfie with their gift and they send a text, and, they're very thankful for it, where I never saw those. You would get a thanks here and there, but I mean, it's like a lot of people like being appreciative of like people still caring for them. And so that's helped me with my business by giving. I feel like people appreciate my thoughtfulness and have been able to get referrals back from that. So I feel like it's just stay focused and don't back away as things slow down. You need to like push forward.
Yeah.
And I
Kardin,
agree.
you want to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with Ashley. It's very important. There definitely has been a lot of change with during pandemic, and I wasn't around before, only being in a few years at this point, and I stressed all the time. I was taking every client. Anybody that would talk to me, I was like, okay, let's do this. And I started to realize that that wasn't being true to me, and I wasn't giving the best to my clients. And once I started to kind of back off a little bit and say, you know what, like, truly be yourself. I brought in, kind of a different mentality to be, I expect my clients to be loyal to me, and I want to be loyal back to them. And what that means to me is loving on my clients, is making sure that I text them and say, hey, I passed XYZ, how you doing? Or sending them a little gift card for a restaurant that I like, that I know that'll, like that they'll enjoy as well. Even if it's just a text, it doesn't mean we have to spend tons of time with them. Everybody wants to feel special. You, me, everybody. And so when you're able to just send a little message and come to the front of their mind, they feel special, they think about you, they talk about you. I have been to 2 weddings in the past 2 months for former clients, and so it's one of those things of like getting to continue that relationship is very important to me. And again, I think by giving up that desire to be everybody's everything, I've really helped myself and helped my clients and been able to evolve and go to quality over quantity. And I think that's something that it might not work for everybody, but it definitely is what is working for me. I'm a sensitive person. I get made fun of sometimes for being sensitive, but I think that is ultimately who I am. And when agents are true to themselves, it really does shine through in the relationships you build, not just with your clients, but also with other realtors. And when you build those relationships with other realtors, they want to give you clients because they know that you're going to treat those clients like they would. And so that's kind of how I've evolved and what I've learned personally, so far in my journey as a realtor.
Yeah. I think, it bears repeating. I mean, people recognize effort and your vulnerability and the sensitivity and everything else. And that's a key to your success. Ressie, I mean, you and I was thinking as Kardin was talking, we had a very similar discussion, but skills, practices, qualities, you had talked about, how you distinguish yourself with your peers. What would you add to
I'd
that?
like to piggyback a little bit on that because I have a great story. During the pandemic, I have some clients that were first responders, and I just dropped off, little gifts here and there on their doorsteps, ringing their doorbell. I've been in your neighborhood, was thinking about you. And just last week, one of my clients called me up and she never told me how important that was and what it meant to her. But she called me and said, I remember you thinking about me during the pandemic and, the nice gift that you gave me. And oh, by the way, we're ready to move out of the townhouse and into another home. So people do care how what's the saying that grandma used to always say? What really matters to people is that they know you care about them, right?
Yeah.
And
people remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, they do.
We were chatting
That's
about
the
that,
most
yeah.
important thing. And so, and I think what's also really important for me is making sure that my clients know that I am their advocate, and that I'm looking out for their best interest. And that's what's more important to me than anything else. Not really making all the money, but knowing that, people know that you were there for them first and that you think about what their needs are. And so, you know, I have a client that, you know, maybe didn't want to buy a house. She thought she was getting really nervous about it, and like, take all of that anxiety out. You know, if this is not the right house for you, then you shouldn't be buying this home. Right? And you should be buying the home that's right for you. So don't worry about, you know, this is a 15, 30-year relationship that you're going into, and making sure that it's the right one for you. And that, you know, and she's like, oh, you know, it helped her. And that's what our role is as the realtor, I think, is to be there for our clients as they're going through this major, challenging, sometimes very stressful experience, and making it as wonderful as possible for them. I forgot what your question was, Ryan.
No, I think you answered it. Yeah. Attributes, skills, qualities, you know, and how you're creating value for your clients. You know, I think a lot of our realtors, you know, their success ebbs and flows, and many of our attendees and many of our realtor community, you know, may be looking to change their approach, their perspective. So I think all this is invaluable. I mean,
and build relationship with the other realtors that are in the marketplace. I mean, that's so important. You know, sometimes when I'm looking for a property, and I may call an agent and say, you know what, congratulations on your recent sale, right? And we have a conversation and find out about that. And just try and build relationships. Agents want to do business with agents that are organized, that are professional, that present really good, you know, present a really good offer, and they're going to want to work with you. So be agreeable. I mean, I know there are a lot of divas out there, but I think it's important to be agreeable, be knowledgeable, and try and build relationships over time. I think that's what's going to sustain your business, and then share. Right? Michael has shared a lot with us today. So, you know, we really appreciate that. Michelle, you've shared so much with us as well. And I think sharing your knowledge and your skills with other people really helps to make you different from other agents in the marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, Michael, I think Ressie just called you a diva, but you've been called worse. So
I mean,
perfectly fine.
every time she speaks, I learn something. So I'm going to stop talking and defer to Ressie from now on. She's amazing.
Very good. Well, maybe to flip it back, any game changers, you know, for you all in your careers that you would recommend for the agent that's looking to kind of have a perspective shift?
I've got one. This turned my business around, or upside down, or whatever analogy you want to use. So I've been doing this for about 15 years. And for the first, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 years I was doing this, I thought, man, I gotta be the best salesperson there is. I gotta get out there and you know, talk with everybody. And it was a very kind of antiquated philosophy about real estate. And what I realized kind of maybe early on in my career, which really set us off to great success over the last, say, 12 years, is I've re-envisioned who I am as an agent in terms of how I'm helping others. And so what I mean by that is, when I now meet with folks, buyers or sellers, I have a conversation up front and say, here's my role in this, right? And here's how I see myself supporting you. And I literally will use some of this language, and I'll say, I don't perceive of myself as a salesperson. I know it says, you know, real estate salesperson on my license, but I don't feel like I am selling you anything. You've already made a decision that you want to buy a home, or you've already made a decision that you need to sell a home. So I'm not selling you anything. I'm here as a guidance, you know, provide guidance, as a you know, someone to provide an advisor, a consultant. And so when I come across as you know, I want to help you and identify those pitfalls and share my knowledge and use my experience. And I want to minimize risk, help save you money, and eliminate surprises. Like, that's where my role is. I'm not here to sell you anything. So whether you buy the most expensive home in town or the least expensive home in town, whether you're ready to put an offer in tomorrow, or it's going to take us several weeks or several months to find your home, none of that really matters to me. I want to find you. At the end of the day, what matters to me is that you're happy with your purchase, right? And you know, I'm a big fan of Google reviews, and we have a Google My Business page, and we have over 120 reviews and a perfect 5-star rating, because every home that we've ever sold, every listing we've ever listed, at the end of that transaction, those clients ask me, can I leave a review for you because the service was amazing? This was not the experience we had when we bought a home 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And because I set the stage up front, this was the game, the philosophy, the game. I'm not a salesperson. I'm here to advise and consult. And the new agents that get into this business often are very nervous about speaking with buyers or speaking, you know, what do I use? What's the scripts and the language I use to get my first listing? Well, if you're nervous, it's because you're probably thinking to yourself, how do I sell myself? And that's not how. It's how can you help that client? What can you do to offer assistance to help that client solve that problem? And that philosophy, that mental kind of, you know, philosophy just was a game changer for me.
God, Michael, it's
right.
like you were on a call with me and Mickey from the Jen Walker team yesterday, literally verbatim. We said this verbatim. We are not salespeople. I know you said it perfectly. It is on our license, but we are in the business of customer service. And we are in the business of being their guide or their Sherpa, right? And whether that takes weeks, months, years, whatever that is. And if you're in this as a salesperson, you're going to get beaten down. Because as we all know, there's a lot of hard days more than sometimes there's really wonderful days. And I think that ultimately that theme is mindset. I think you have to have a mindset about how you're perceived and what kind of service you're going to provide to your clients, but it's also, you have to have a certain mindset of gratitude. This is an insane business we get to do. We get to be part of something so intimate, guys. Like a home, think of a home, the memories, the things that happen in a home are for each person, whether they have a big family or they're a single person just starting out, the memories they make, that's super intimate. And we get to be a part of that. We get to help them bridge that gap. That is such an honor. And I think we lose sight of that we're in the housing business, we're in the people business and the customer service business. And that's what I believe. And I think that mindset shift of gratitude and then how you perceive yourself and what you can bring to the table, you're unstoppable with that.
Well said.
Well, yeah, I truly have the greatest amount of respect and admiration for what you all do day in, day out. And certainly that's true of everybody on this panel. You know, maybe in the very limited time that we have left, you know, I kind of, you know, do a little roundtable format, whoever wants to go first, but any one particular piece of wisdom or advice that you have for our attendees, just from a differentiation perspective, keys to your success, really anything and everything. So somebody
I want
jump
to say
in.
something. I want to say something. So we have actually talked about this quite a bit at Weichert, and you know, it is being yourself and being different and embracing who you are, being intimitable. Okay, so it was a new word I learned. You are not able to be replicated. So sit down if you're struggling right now and realizing things are moving really fast. Sit down and write down, you know, the top 4 things that you love about yourself and what you bring to the table that others can't bring. There are realtors, no matter where you turn, you're going to find somebody. You know, if you are the one who is sensitive, who takes on the stress of your buyer or seller, if you're the one who, you know, is the level head to their craziness, you know, you need to embrace that. You need to bring it out. If you're the one who is able to talk to the other, you know, agent on the other side and take your ego out of it and get through to the end, then that's your strength as well. So I think that's the biggest thing with all of the turbulence in the world and in our industry. Figure out who you are and embrace it.
Wonderful. Anyone else? Don't you be shy. I know you all have tons to say.
Sorry.
I think it's really important to become a community leader, right? So you live in the neighborhoods. We're talking about how important a home is and the preciousness of home ownership, the legacy that you can pass from one generation to the next generation, how a home is a healer. It's a place for you to go and that's what we bring. That's what we are able to do. But get involved in your community if you're not already involved. Get to know your community, local council people. You know, go to them and say, what can I do to help support you? And find out in your neighborhood. Get to know all of your neighbors. What can you do as the realtor to support your neighbors? And your real estate career will blossom after that. If you know, I think that's really what our role should be, is to be a community leader. Get to know all the businesses in your neighborhood. and your real estate career will flourish.
Well, you all are wonderful examples of grace and professionalism and really everything that our real estate industry embodies in Northern Virginia and throughout the country. And so I'm so thankful to each of you, Ressie, Michael, Michelle, Kardin, Ashley. Very selfless to pass along your knowledge and your expertise to those of us in attendance. As I mentioned before, on behalf of MBH and District Title, we are so happy to be in business with you and to be part of your circle of excellence. Michael and I had teed one up where he was going to pass it back to me, but we ran out of time. So that selfish self-promotion.
I gotta
We'll
give me 10
wait,
seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. Listen, Ryan, the opportunity to come and share our knowledge is great, but ultimately, like, this is your show, and I gotta just extend on behalf of all the panelists here, thank you for giving us this opportunity for this forum. This is all you're doing, and personally, the friendship and also just the professional relationship that we've built over the years. I will not close a deal outside of MBH if I could help it. And just going back to the comments, like what do I do how do I differentiate myself from the other agents? Is I have people I go to solve problems, and one of those people are you. If I have a question about title, if I have a question about a legal question, I can pick up the phone and call, and I know you'll answer and you'll be there for me. And that just says volumes about you as a person, the business that you run, the people you associate with, your entire team at MBH. Phenomenal. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Michael. I have admittedly been getting some counseling from Kardin offline about my sensitivity, and I do have a little tear in my eye. So thank you for that. Well, the credit for this event, certainly goes to Beverly Franklin. She put all this together and made this a seamless event from a technological and a marketing standpoint. Bev, I'll defer to you to finish up. I think we've got a little giveaway. And again, just thanks to everybody who was in attendance today and who helped to support this wonderful event.
Absolutely. And thank you again to all of you for joining and for sharing your insights with us. So now it's time to give away a margarita machine, as we do every year. So Jared Lilly, you are the proud winner of a margarita machine. We will be contacting you offline to coordinate the handoff. And I will be at Tyson's, the happy hour at Rango's today at 4:30. And I really look forward to seeing all of you. And thank you for joining. So cheers.
Well done.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
We'll see you at the settlement table. Have a great one. Stick around for the continuing education from 12:30 to 3:30, 9 grade classes. I'll take care, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.